Thank you very much. So yeah, today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. It's mainly about recruiting, but also about AI. We have a lot of stuff to cover, so we don't have that much time. So that's it. Yeah. So this is the agenda. We're going to talk about using a problem called Gilded Rose. It's kind of a old school problem. Some of you might have heard of it during the interview process, and how we use that uh, like to filter our candidates and to find people who are the best fit for it. So yeah, first about the short introduction. My name is Luigi. I'm from Brazil. I've been living in Japan since 2017. Right now I'm working at Catchex. I'm a tech lead there. And yeah, I'm a dad. I enjoy playing the drums and I like doing chess. I like to be compilers. Yeah. And yeah, about the company. So Catchex is a platform where people can sell their vehicles online. We now support bikes and cars, and basically you take a picture of your vehicle, uh, register it on our system, and our partners who are registered bikes and bike and car colors bid on the vehicle, and basically the highest bidder wins. Yeah, and about my work doing recruiting. We look for basically two people, for basically two things in people when we do recruiting. First, of course, you got to be able to write some code. We're looking for engineers, of course. And then we're looking for people who are very collaborative and they must be open to feedback. We value teamwork very highly. And I guess that's kind of a big ask to ask for these two things. And why do we look for such like two big things in one person? Well, the company has been growing quite a bit. You can see in this graph here, we're going to hit basically like 20 billion yen by beginning of next year. And yeah, this graph is actually kind of weird. So if you look at the label on the axis over there and this big number over here, they don't match. And the reason is the labels over there are for just 1 quarter, and this number is for 1 year. So just in case somebody noticed, it's not a mistake. It's kind of a weird graph. Yeah. And then about AI. When we do recruiting, we use a lot of AI, but basically I have some data here. Overflow's developer survey from 2024 says that 76% of all respondents are using or plan to use AI in their development. And then there's this other survey from CoderPad that says that only 19% of developers would openly use AI during a recruitment process. And then 1/3 of developers actually consider it to be cheating. So there's this big gap, right? So 76% of people want to use AI, but then only 19% of people would use it during an interview. So yeah, it's kind of a tool, and you don't want to like punish people for the tools they use, but still there's this gap here. And yeah, in case somebody's interested, I have here this great blog post on Canvas website where they talk about how they use AI during their interview process, and it's very in depth and it's very interesting. They actually have you use like an instance of Cloud Code, and then they have you prompted and review its code, and it's a lot more than what we do, and it's very interesting. So if you're interested, then make sure to check it out. And then, sorry, about soft skills, the collaborative part. 78% of developers and 81% of recruiters, eh, they they say that soft skills are at least as important or more important as hard skills. And then the DocuDev survey from 2024 says that coworker relations are the third most voted for workplace perk, just behind work-life balance and work. So yeah, everybody knows that work-life balance and working conditions are very important. But then the third one is coworker relations. So that's yeah why we value soft skills very high. And then why not use like LeetCode from one of these interviews? So there's basically two things. First, we've had people who are very good at LeetCode in our company. They are like, in the national rank or something, but they ended up not working very well for us. And then there are like tools like Interview Coder. It is an AI-assisted tool that you can use to help you during a LeetCode style interview. And what I'm gonna say, it works. If anything, that's just evidence that people don't like these kinds of interviews, right? And yeah, I want to make something very clear here. This is not anti-AI, or we're not against AI or anything like that. We actually use AI quite a lot during our development. I encourage people to use AI all the time. I use AI a lot in my own development. So yeah, this is not anti-AI or anything like that. We do use AI quite a bit. Yeah, but now let's go into our interview process. We have 4 interviews, basically. Not even 4 interviews, 4 steps. Uh, very, I guess, normal kind of interview process. But we're gonna focus here on the second interview, the technical one, that tests for technical skills, education, and emotional intelligence. So if we zoom in on that, we get to Gilded Rose. So Gilded Rose is an old school problem. It's a coding kata. A coding kata is basically a small coding challenge that you do by yourself. Uh, and it's basically this. It's a lot of tests, I'm sorry, but yeah, it's a fantasy world. It's an item shop in an RPG, as you can imagine. And every item you have a bunch of items, and every item degrades differently. So some items growing value, for example, you have like a good wine, it might grow in value as time passes. You have items that decay in value, and then you have some items that just have rules that are special only to them. And then a shopkeeper needs a program to update the values every day at the end of the day. And they have a program to do that, but the code base is terrible. It was left behind by somebody who's not here anymore. He just vanished into the woods, and you can't contact them. You just have to code the code to work with. And then, of course, there's a class called item, but you can't touch it. If you touch it, the problem says that a goblin will just one-shot it. So you can touch it. It's off limits. And this is how the code looks like. This is just like 1/3 of the code. It has a lot more than this, but it's just a glimpse of how things are. So we ask you a couple things. First, you have to implement a new item type. Then you have to refactor the code. And then you have 2 hours in a take-home assignment. And then after that, we do a 1 hour interview. And we do make the refactoring step very explicit here, because the original problem doesn't say that you have to refactor, but we added the question to say that, yeah, you do have to refactor. So it's a little bit customized. And then why Gilded Rose? Well, I got this idea actually from the Ruby community. So there's this talk from 2014. You can see how the problem is not new at all. It's called Call the Little Things by Sandy Metz. And in it, she goes through all the refactoring steps that she does when doing something like a Euro style refactoring. And her refactorings are just great. They're gorgeous. If you are at all interested in object-oriented style coding or just refactoring at all, I do very highly recommend it. And then Nate, the person who does maintenance for Puma, the main, I guess, server. Uh, how do you even say it? The Ruby on Rails server, gem, basically the maintainer for that, also had one interview where the interviewer had him do the Gilded Rose refactoring, and then he made his solution open source on this link over here. And his solution is also great. So if you are interested, go check it out too. Both of these are in Ruby, but we let you to choose the language. And then, yeah, one thing that I always has to keep in mind doing this is that we have a skill test. We call it a skill test, but the 2 hour take-home assignment is definitely not the skill test. So it doesn't matter what you hand out during the skill test. That is not going to get evaluated at all. That is just 2 hours for you to get familiar with how items work and how the shop works. And then we can talk during the 1 hour interview on, I guess, we can talk you have a higher level conversation during the 1 hour interview. Yeah, so the 2 hour take-home assignment is definitely not a still this. And also one thing about Gilded Rose is that it's very, very flexible. So there are many types of engineers. Some of them just started their career. Some of them are doing it for years, have done everything. And Gilded Rose is very, very flexible. So you can adapt it to junior engineers who are younger but have very high potential, and to people who are already in a lead engineer position. And we basically don't change the 2 hour take-home assignment at all for either type of engineer, but we do ask different questions during the 1 hour interview. So that's why it's very flexible in that way. So for example, for somebody who's younger and maybe are starting their career, we ask things like, what are the design choices here? Or is your code object oriented, or is it leaning more functional? If you're doing things object oriented, can we implement any design patterns here? If you're leaning more functional, then how can we minimize mutation in program? So those are some of the questions. And for lead engineers, we basically ask stuff like, can we make it easier for people to add new items? Can we use the type system if the language is typed, of course? Can you use the type system to prevent some types of bugs? And of course, we expect more complete answers. But the 2 hour take-home assignment is you just change the 1 hour interview. And talking about the 1 hour interview, that you're not there to help them. So the 1 hour interview is basically a pair coding session, pair programming session. So I'm not there as an interviewer, I'm there as a programming partner. So yeah, I am on the keyboard, the person is talking to me, and I'm typing stuff into an online version of VS Code, and we do all the coding in that way. And if somebody's having trouble, is thinking a lot, is clearly very stressed, we just help them. So yeah, you're there to help them. I'm not an interviewer there, but still, people do see it as an interview because, of course, at the end of the day, it is. So some people get very, very, I don't know, stressed. But yeah, basically, what kind of person goes well on this? Well, during the 1 hour interview, people who do smaller refactorings tend to do better. During the 2 hour take-home assignment, they can change everything if they want. But during the 1 hour interview, being more careful is usually a good sign. Also, having a good naming convention. For example, if you have an interface, the first letter should be a capital I, for example. We don't do that at Kachex at all, but having a naming convention and then following it by yourself is also a good sign. And then asking lots of questions. This is the most important one. For example, is this code a monolith? Is it going to be a microservice? Because the original code doesn't use databases at all. Are we interested in putting some of this data in a database? Or how much are we worrying about performance? What about the server specs or anything like that? So yeah, asking lots of questions is very important because there is no one right answer. So ask lots of questions and clarify what must be done. And yeah, I guess being goal-oriented is also a sign of a very good engineer. So if I ask somebody, why did you extract this class? It was if somebody says that, well, I guess it reduces cognitive load, and we can put this code over here so we can extend this part of the code further in the future without touching this core logic over here, then that's a great answer. But somebody that just says, I thought it looked cleaner, it might be cleaner, but if you don't have a reason for it, I guess makes less sense. And yeah, about people using AI, because we've had quite a few people using AI. So including for like PR descriptions, we do everything in GitHub. The interview is also on GitHub. So we have you submit a PR to us, a pull request, and yeah, sometimes we have like lots of emojis, have bolded text, and that's just like everything that you would expect from an AI. Everything's here. So yeah, this is probably written by AI, but again, it's fine. We actually write on the question that you can look the problem up on the internet. You can look at other people answers, people's answers. You can use AI. You can watch the Sandy Metz talk on how she does her refactors. It's not a problem. We actually find it, and we don't change the interview at all. And the thing about AI though, it's not perfect yet. So there are some things that it is gonna have a harder time, you know, getting, I guess, everything nicer. So during the 1 hour interview, we're probably going to talk about those parts of the code as we are looking through it. So if you can explain yourself, then sure, that's fine. If you can't, then that's not a very good sign. And yeah, that's usually how we do the second interview. And then our results. Yeah, like I said, CatchX is not a very big company. It has only 50 people and only 10 engineers. So I don't have like huge impressive numbers and big graphs to show you here. But how much our team is growing, I don't have those. But what we do have is like it's 10 engineers, but they are very skilled. They are very nice people. We have a very collaborative team. Everybody works really well together, and everybody has one goal, that is to make Kachaks better. Also, we've had great feedback, even from candidates. For example, it's the first time that I've actually learned something doing a technical interview. Then that was actually really a lot of fun. But also, yeah, when when they told me that there's going to be a technical interview, I thought it was going to be something like LeetCode, and then what it wasn't. And we've had very few false positives. We've been doing this interview for a few years now, and people who tend to do very well in the interview tend to work very well in our company, because we do the interview for people who are collaborative. We do like a pair programming session for 1 hour, and then we expect them to be very collaborative on the job. So it's very connected to the actual job. And then, yeah, very few false positives. When somebody does well on the interview, we know pretty much they are gonna work on for us on the job. Yeah. So, for example, the last point here, we've had people who did the interview, got into CatchX, and then we've hired them as just normal engineers, and then 6 months later, they're becoming like data engineers. Yeah, people grow really fast. And yeah, we're doing like a very hard things at CatchX. It's not like we're just building something that nobody uses. Our team is just 10 people, but we sell like 3,000 bikes a month, and it's almost 2 billion. 2 billion, almost 2 billion yen for like every month with just 10 engineers. And then, yeah, I guess this is more towards recruiters, but still, I don't think Gilded Rose is the best thing ever for every single company out there. Of course, it's not. It has worked very well for us, but it's not the best thing for everybody. But some things that I think every company should be doing is, one, embrace AI. It's only gonna get better from here. It's not gonna get any worse. So you might as well embrace it as quickly as possible. And then explicitly scoring soft skills is also pretty important, especially in the AI age where more and more like, yeah, engineers like talking between themselves, but also talking to other people in the company. It's becoming more and more important, at least at CatchX. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have. We are hiring. If you check this QR code over here, you're gonna get to our corporate site where you can apply. And yeah, that's about it.